welcome back to another episode of You've Gotta Hear This. We are joined by a very special guest today. It's my friend and yours, Anthony Natoli.
Hey, welcome.
Welcome, Anthony.
Welcome.
Anthony.
Thank you for having me.
Yes, thank you.
Also, you got to hear this super fan. You left that out of his credentials.
That's true. I should add that. He has been an avid viewer of our show. Anthony is also a musician, songwriter, producer. Am I leaving anything out?
I don't know. Jack of all trades.
Jack of all trades.
He's very talented at all three of those things.
Yes, he is. And
very familiar with his work.
I've played music with Anthony many times through the years. We've toured together. He's played guitar with me, and we've recorded some music together. And yes, very happy to have you on the show, Anthony.
It's awesome. And long time listener, first time caller type of thing.
Nice.
Totally.
Very nice.
Well, welcome. Glad to have you.
Welcome.
I really enjoyed your cover of Come As You Are on your Instagram. That was really cool. It's really good.
Thank you. Yeah, it was a fun one. I just wanted to, a couple of years ago, me and John actually played a show, and I had to play this like country song that it was like a funny thing, and I choked so bad. And I was like, man, this is not for me. I'm not, a solo. I can't do what John's over there doing. But after, a lot of years of touring and doing other stuff with John, I don't know. I just felt like I was like, I think what I should do is maybe just learn some covers, or just songs that I've always said, I don't know how to play that together, but let me see if I can just, jam on it a little bit. And that was one of the ones that I've been like, just dying to do. It's so simple, you know what I mean? But I was like, I love singing that song. So it was a fun thing. And I'm just going to do a bunch of covers and just share them that way.
Nice. Yeah, I loved it. It sounded great. It reminded me, because I know one song on guitar, and it's About a Girl by Nirvana. Which is somewhat similar to Come As You Are. But anyway.
Yeah. I like that you did, you chose not to do like the standard riff. You played the chords on the verses, right?
Yeah. I mean, to me, that song is like so groove oriented, and like to play that riff 1,000 times is like, there's a lot of margin for error.
Yeah.
I'd rather have somebody next to me like, you just focus on that, and I'll keep the chords going, and it's not that I can't play it. It's just like, it's not what I'm trying to bring something different to it. And I would probably flub half of those notes, it's a tricky riff. It seems really simple. And then you go to try to play and sing it, and you're like, well, that's hard. That's not easy. So, and that's why I like doing the covers now, because it's like a challenge in a different way for me, and deconstruct songs into like sort of a meat and potatoes kind of thing,
Yeah.
I love it. Now, I'm a big unironic 80s metal guy. I sincerely love 80s metal. So if you have any Skid Row covers planned for the year, I'm ready.
Yeah, me too, man. I grew up super Van Halen, Slayer, all that's like Metallica. Like that's what I cut my teeth on as a kid. Then I discovered like Deftones and Glassjaw and all these other bands, and that sent me in that direction. And then years later, I was like, I totally skipped over like the early 90s. So then I spent like 5 or 6 years in Pearl Jam, Nirvana, Alice in Chains.
You really dove into the Hootie and the Blowfish catalog.
100%.
Right.
Well, it's funny you mentioned that, because when we were talking about, I was thinking about this topic, there were so many songs from like Hootie and the Blowfish that like came to mind. I was like, oh yeah, that was a good one too, man. And I know you're a big advocate for them. So, I definitely agree, man. I think Darius Rucker is a great songwriter, and he's almost better country than he is as Hootie and the Blowfish, in my opinion.
Yeah. No offense taken. I don't doubt that for a second. John, what is today's topic?
I'm glad you asked, Mike. Glad you asked. So today's topic is songs that time forgot. And Joe suggested this topic, I think, early in the week, and we were texting about it. And I think it's a really interesting one. And one thing that's really interesting to me about this topic is, there's a bunch of songs that were, like big hits maybe 10 or 15 years ago, and maybe even one-hit wonders. But for whatever reason, like they still kind of are still there at the forefront of people's minds. Like I think about something like I don't know, like Marcy Playground, like Sex and Candy.
Yes, that's
Like
yes.
that's a little obscure, but I feel like most people remember that. Like
That song was huge
yeah,
when it came out. Biggest song, period, when it came out.
right. And yeah, and though in a certain way it kind of came and went. So
Yeah.
it's like almost in that forgotten song, but you know what I mean? To me, I would say that's not in the forgotten song category, because I feel like it still holds this place in popular culture or in people's memories, right? Like it's still there, or at least I don't know, in my opinion. But then there's these other ones that were pretty big hits, and like literally no one could tell you what the name of the band is. No one can tell you the name of the song. No one has any. It's just gone. But then if someone plays it for you, like immediately, it's like, oh yeah, that song.
I love that song. Right.
So
I feel like with MTV at the time, it was just, they were just pushing out hit song with a music video, hit song with a music video, hit
Exactly.
song with a music video. It was just nonstop every few
Yeah.
days or every week, and they were just putting the song out. And then if you were one of those older songs from a week or two ago, burying you, you're done.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I think that's what happened. I think it was
I
MTV.
agree, Joe.
Yeah.
Totally. And the reason I agree with that too is because I would like get like, be late to the boat on a song and be like, oh, that came out like last month. And
Yeah.
I was like a mixtape kid. I would
Yeah.
like wait at my, TV with a tape deck loaded and wait for and start and hit record and got it, because sometimes, it was expensive to buy records and CDs when we were kids. And it's like, I don't know if I want that whole record, but right now for free, I can get that one song that I know I love. And then it would be hard to get it if it was like a month or two later, because it's like, it's kind of out of rotation now, and it like TRL, when all that stuff was out, kind of made it even harder to like keep up, because it was just one after the other. In a year, I don't know how many songs must have come out that were like #1 hits during that decade.
I remember going back and forth between MTV and VH1 and being like waiting for my like song that I was into at the time, and just keep going back and forth between the channels and wait for it to play. And
But the worst is when it started on the other one and I'm halfway through. Damn it.
that's right.
Joe, that's so funny you say that, man. I was thinking about that today, and I distinctly remember like it was yesterday. Back in 1997 is my junior year of college, and the alternative station in Columbia, South Carolina, was Rock 93.5. And they had what I felt to be a very duplicitous practice, where they would have every summer they would have a music festival, and it was so obvious what was going on. So you have to book your acts months in advance. So on the radio station, there were bands like Big Wreck and Jolene, and I'm just trying to think of some of these other bands. Marcy Playground. I wouldn't count that, but in the months leading up to them, they'd be like, and now coming up next, everyone's favorite song from your favorite band, Big Wreck. And everybody's like, who? What? What are you talking about? And say would play. And Big Wreck was one of those bands that had a really good song, or like I had a bunch of good examples. I wish I would have written them down, but like 6 months before this festival, they'd be like, and now this is going to blow your mind. It's your other favorite song from your other favorite band right out of Florida, Jump Little Children. And you're like, okay, all right. So what would happen is 6 months later, they'd be like, you guys, we've got the lineup for our festival, and you're not going to believe who we've got. All your favorite bands. Big Wreck is here. Jolene is going to be here. And it was so obvious what they were doing. And all of these bands had one song that would play on the radio constantly and never to be heard from again. But I do want to addendum that story with I really enjoy Jump Little Children. And they're not actually from Florida.
I think a cool idea for a future episode would be picking one of these bands that we think are a one-hit wonder and as like a homework assignment, deep diving, like going through like Sugar Ray. Sugar Ray has like 2 big songs. No, your assignment is to go through a lot of Sugar Ray and find something and then bring it up and talk about it. Pick one song. That would be a cool one too.
I will tell you right now, the Chumbawamba album with Tub Thumping is fantastic. It's legit fantastic.
Being someone who has Tub Thumped as well in my life, on my bucket list, I think I deserve to go through their catalog.
You should, yeah.
You've Tub Thumped, you need to go through all of Chumbawamba and find at least one more song.
Joe,
Yeah.
I like that idea, because for me, I love an assignment personally. Like, I love when somebody's like, listen, I want you to force feed this down your own throat.
Yes.
You know,
Your own throat, yes.
I don't want to do that, but it's like,
No.
all right, but you have to do it, because this is, you got to look for something that's in there that you got to dive in. And
the most painful episode for that was song they'd play on repeat in hell. If it was like a bad hell, not a cool, like Beavis and Butthead acid trip hell, but like a terrible hell. And then I went through, because I was like going what John calls full Boynton at the time. I was like really researching and doing all this stuff for each episode, which I'm more laid back about it now. But so I went through like every awful song I could think of, and I have a list of like 50 songs. And I played a couple of them, like after it finished, hit it again, like put it on repeat. And I did the research to find that Rebecca Black's Friday was that song. But that was awful. I would never go back to that point in my life again. I wish I could rewind back and put less work into that episode. But this
can't go back.
You can't go back. And it definitely depressed me. Working on that episode made me a little bit less happy as a person.
I can't believe how much work you put into that. I don't think anybody was asking you to put that much work in. I mean, that was totally self-inflicted.
We were telling you.
I think it was at the beginning of COVID, and I was getting really, really messed up from just being inside. And I was like, I gotta give it my best.
Would you have
You're
rather
gonna start pulling out like graphs and charts and stuff like that after a certain point.
When you see this Google Doc, I'll find it. I'll pull it up. Like, it might take me a while to find it, but when I do find it, I'll show it on the screen. But it's research, man. I was a scientist for that episode.
Would you rather have just gotten COVID? Do you think that would have been better?
No, because when I got the vaccine, I got like the side effects for shot 2.
Yo, how about leave your political ranting out of this?
No, I'm very happy that I got vaccinated. I would do it again in a heartbeat. But it kicked my ass for sure. It was not fun.
Was it more fun than researching the song that would play in hell?
100%.
You know, I don't always look at the screen when I check out the podcast. It's usually like on in the background while I'm doing something. But I remember on that one, I was like, I got to see what Joe looks like today, because he said he's doing pretty bad. Oh man, he does. He looks like he's sick. He looks great.
I
was hoping you were okay, man. I was sending good vibes your way. I was like, oh man, I hope he's all right.
Everyone was like, hey, you look like shit.
I must have COVID.
Record. I was like, wow, you look rough, man. That was funny.
Who wants to go first? I'll be glad to, but I'll be glad to defer if anybody else would like to go. Should we be hospitable and
maybe let's let Anthony, our guest, kick this off.
Absolutely.
All right. So going back to what Joe was saying, about doing research, sometimes it's important, right? Sometimes it's, I know exactly the answer. If you ask me, greatest guitar player in the world, I could shoot off an answer very quickly. But this is one of those ones where I'm like, again, how do I remember what I forgot? So I just started Googling and, started triggering. And a few of the ones that came to me that I guess I had to like reframe the question a little bit, in the sense where it's like songs that I forgot about, because I'm sure I'm part of a large census of people that also forgot about it too. And in a way, this is like an impossible question to really answer, because some of these bands still have like incredible fan bases that like still come out and see them, and you're like, did they forget about them, or did they just hit their market and they're doing what they do? That's a totally viable thing. So I'll rattle off a hand. The top one that I loved and I really forgot about, and I probably haven't heard it in years, was Jamiroquai, Virtual Insanity.
That's
And-
so funny. Yeah, that pick was at the top of my list. All of us are going to have the same picks, and they're all going to be from 1997.
Well, John put me in that direction because when he was mentioning it, he's like, I feel like it was around this time that this happened a lot. And I agreed immediately. I was like, he's probably right. That's where I got to look. And it was right on because it was like so much stuff from like 1989 and before. I was like, I remember all this. This none of this is surprising to me. But a lot of the saturation was in that like 90 to 2010, zone for me. And that video was like the illest video that ever came out at that point. I remember seeing that and being like, not only is this song really cool and this guy is the man, but this video is stellar. And that was probably like my number one forgotten pick that I actually am like, I love that song. Because a lot of these I was like, oh, that's a really good song. It's not my favorite. It's probably why I forgot it. Some of them are just ones that it's like, oh, that just kind of fell by the wayside because I shouldn't have forgotten about that. I don't know where that went in my mind. And that was definitely one of my top picks for sure.
Yeah, that's a good one.
That's one of the first ones I thought about as well.
Jamiroquai is someone where I've never heard a song that wasn't Virtual Insanity by
Me either.
And I feel like he is a top contender for going down a deep dive on his catalog because the lyrics I'm looking at right now are pretty damn strong. You can tell this guy wrote a lot of songs before he wrote this song.
And also, I just found out recently that Jamiroquai is the band, not the dude. I never knew that. Yeah.
What's it named after? Do you know?
I have no idea. No.
I wonder.
Well, that's like the Prodigy too. The Prodigy is like the DJ. I think it's not the guy with the hair.
Oh my gosh.
He's like just one of the dudes that like comes in on it. I think I'm pretty sure.
No way.
He took a DJ and then made it into a band, and then just took the name over.
Yeah. Firestarter was on that list.
Breaking the dam wide open. We are breaking the dam wide open on today's episode of.
Yeah. Do you remember that?
Do you think Troy Baker's doing this on his website? Fuck no. He's not doing this on his podcast.
So what's weird to me with Firestarter, I don't know why, but like that one's always sort of just been in the background to me. In my mind, like I never totally forgot about it. I feel like, I don't know, it would like pop up in like a commercial or like every once in a while, maybe you hear it, on the radio, or I don't know. I feel like it never totally disappeared, but
when was the last time you turned it on to go listen to it?
Oh, I've never. I don't know if I ever did.
This song is gut punch. Lyrically,
it was just always there for a time. It would just.
This song is like Rammstein. It's like the
whole
song.
Du hast.
Heavy,
I love
angry, very artistic. Just like this song is a direct gut punch lyrically from beginning to end.
If I listen to one, I have to listen to the other. If I happen to hear Firestarter, I'm also gonna want to hear Du hast. And if I hear Du hast, I'm gonna want to hear Firestarter. It's like they're symbiotic to me.
I can totally see that.
There's nothing wrong with Du hast. I like Du hast.
Yeah, Du hast is sick.
They had Smack My Bitch Up.
Oh, Prodigy. That was a pretty big song too.
Yeah.
And that music video with the big twist ending. Do you remember that?
No.
It was this whole the whole video is like from first person. Is it first person perspective? Like you're looking at what the person is seeing. So like,
yeah.
So this person, you're following them the whole time, and they have this crazy night out where they're just like doing tons of hard drugs, like drinking excessively, like getting into fights. And you just see it all from their perspective. Then that very end of the video, the person gets home, and it's just and they look in the mirror, and you finally see him, and it's this like young woman. And that's the big, the big twist.
That's like the same twist as Metroid. You play all of Metroid on NES, and find out that if you did it well enough, she takes her helmet off, and she's a blonde female, and that was the big reveal. So maybe they were big Metroid fans.
Maybe.
Well,
when we're done with this, I'll send you a link to something. There's a Prodigy video. It's for Firestarter, and they're like down in a sewer and like they're dancing and he's doing all this crazy stuff and whatever. But somebody took all the music out and they just did Folly for it. So he's just like, and like you hear like a train go by and it's like, it makes me cry, dude. It's just so funny. That's my favorite Prodigy product, actually.
That is so funny. Yeah, it's kind of like the Shreds videos where they just do sound effects of these key moments and there's silence like through everything else.
What's funny about those to me is when you show them to somebody who's a non-musician, they're just like, "Why is he playing so bad?"
That's like
he's not.
simpling.
Yeah. They do it well enough that it can trick people if they don't know their music.
Yeah, there's a great one with Yngwie Malmsteen, and he's playing with an orchestra. I know the piece; it's sick, but they did it. And they got trumpets everywhere and all this stuff, and they're playing the Indiana Jones theme. Dun, 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 dun. And they're missing beats and stuff. It's the best. It's so funny. Awesome. I could watch this all day.
I've got a good Indiana. I wouldn't say good. I've got an Indiana Jones themed story, but I'll tell it off the air.
Okay. All right.
Not appropriate for you. I'm gonna rip through a bunch of them, and you can just
please do.
All right. Roll to Me, Delamitri. I always thought that was a well-written song.
Oh, right.
I don't know that one.
I'm sad Greg isn't here to weigh in on this, but actually River of Dreams from Billy Joel
love River of Dreams.
is like one of my favorite Billy Joel songs, and it's probably not a popular opinion, but in my opinion,
that's forgotten category for the time forgotten.
Awesome.
You know what? I guess part of it weighs in the idea where I'm like, shouldn't more people feel as hyped about this still as I do? You know? So part of that, I guess, is where I weigh in, because a lot of people in my circle are like, of course, River of Dreams.
Right.
But outside of it, people are like, oh yeah, I remember that weird album with like the painted him naked, and I'm like, don't talk about it like that, you know.
I always thought River of Dreams I always thought that album was like a GoBots Paul Simon, Graceland.
Totally.
Wasn't it?
I could see that. Yeah, like Billy Joel's version of like a second-rate Graceland or something.
Yeah,
I hear that.
I really thought I was gonna get a bigger laugh from you when I said the GoBots.
Delamitri lyrics right now. I had to zone out. When someone brings up a song, I got to read the lyrics. And
that is on point, Mike. That is the.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Thank you.
The GoBots to Graceland's transform.
GoBots. I don't remember what GoBots are.
You got it.
I remember Z-Bots. I'm trying to remember what GoBots were.
I don't know what Z-Bots are.
You know what Z-Bots are?
That's some shit you get at Family Dollar.
Yeah, that's where I shopped. That's when I shopped as a kid.
That's the fourth-rate transformer.
Yeah.
The end of the alphabet. We're all the way at the
You're right. It's the very end. At least they're honest about
23
it.
better versions.
At least they're honest about it. They're like, yeah, we're not trying to shine anything gold. We're just gonna let you know this is the bottom of the barrel bot.
Yeah, it's just like a toy car.
It's literally his name.
The toy car, and then you just pick it up and stand it upright.
No mechanical features.
It's got like 3 wheels.
Worst robot ever.
That and Mad Balls. I remember that.
I like Mad Balls.
Man.
My nickname in high school. All right. Sorry.
All right. I'm going to keep ripping.
Do it. Do it.
And then you could pick Dinosaur Jr., Feel the Pain.
Great.
Such a great song. I love that song. Oh, the weirdest like drum beat, like turnaround and like weird. I couldn't even call it time signatures. It's almost like 2 different paintings stapled together in a way, but it's just such a cool song. It's pretty wild. Red Hot Chili Peppers, Aeroplane is one of the other ones that I thought was kind of forgotten because of Dave Navarro maybe, but it really is such a great song and well produced, and it doesn't quite get the credit that I think it sometimes deserves. But
was that actually on the radio for a while, right? That was like an album.
Yeah.
That's a pretty good one. That was kind of a hit. but compared to a lot of their other ones, you don't ever hear it anymore.
Yeah, like
Let's
when
go.
people talk about Red Hot Chili Peppers, I don't know if they're going anywhere near that anymore. But
Let's get real quick. I know we're going long, but just real quick,
we can do whatever.
Just do a thumbs up or just say yes or no. I'm just going down the line. Red Hot Chili Peppers, yes or no? I'm going yes. Anthony says yes.
Guitar
What?
work, yeah.
No, just one word, yes or no?
Can I give this?
Guitar work. Guitar work is good. I don't like anything else. Guitar work.
Okay, that's good.
I
Anthony,
give it-
please continue. John says a 5 out of 10.
I kind of want to defend myself now, but it's all right.
No. You got to keep riffing.
Okay. All right. Sting, Desert Rose.
Oh, I love Desert Rose.
Unbelievable song.
That's
Unbelievable
the
song.
one.
Great production. Hey Man, Nice Shot, Filter.
I love Hey Man, Nice Shot from the hit film Tales from the Crypt: Demon Night. Yes. I love that song.
Yeah.
I love that song.
That's a really good one because that one was like that was a pretty big hit, and like everybody I knew was into it, and I don't think that would have been on the radio for probably 10 plus years. Like it did kind of just fade away a bit, you know, like. It's so good though. I love that song.
Yeah.
And also that song, like single-handedly, I think made me say, I want to be in a band.
Yeah,
And I think a lot of people sort of had the same feeling. Like I was talking about it with somebody and like, yeah, like I know what you mean because, you know, it was like one of those songs where you're like, don't you just like want to be a part of that? Don't you want to be a piece of that puzzle? How does he scream that? All those guitars playing. It's like, where did he come from too? He played with Reznor, right? He was like
some connection.
his guitar player or something.
That sounds right. Yeah.
I mean, I didn't. The first thing I actually heard was that acoustic one.
Oh yeah.
Picture.
Take my picture. That was a big.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. That one.
And I was like, oh, that's a good song. But then when I heard Hey Man, Nice Shot, I was like, that's what I'm into this band for right here.
Yeah, I have a kind of a funny story about the singer from Filter. It's Adam and I did this like charity thing out in LA where it's like tons and tons of different musicians from different bands, and they all would get up and just play like 2 songs. And I think mostly like everyone was choosing like cover songs, and there was a lot of people. I think like Weird Al was one of the headliners for it, and it was like. We were like Adam and I being like Taking Back Sunday was definitely kind of on the lower level of like the names on it. But so I was backstage and like just kind of ended up making conversation with this guy. And he was like an older-ish dude, like probably like 5 to 10 years older than me, like pretty like reserved, like had glasses, like pretty laid back. And just was like talking to him about, you know, just general stuff for probably like 15 or 20 minutes. And then we got done talking and someone was like, you know who that is? No. I was like, oh, that's a singer for Filter. And I had like no idea, and like just like what I imagined from like the Hey Man, Nice Shot song, like he was pretty intense dude, and like I don't know, like look rock starish, and he kind of looked like
this guy wasn't him.
No, you didn't. Yeah, you didn't think he was going to look like a mathematician.
He did. He kind of did actually. He looked like a middle-aged teacher, and was
Teaches at the local college.
Yeah, very soft-spoken, very like laid back, and
It's from Massachusetts. Needham.
how about that?
From
But
my
yeah,
area.
that's my Filter story.
I like it.
My last choice, and that's it. That's all I'm gonna win. Was Return of the Mac. I
love
that
Return of the
song
Mac.
So
Every
has
song
had a
he
nice
did.
comeback lately, but it was dropped for a while. You know.
Do you want to know why that song's so good? Because he's returning the Mac. Like he was with somebody. Lyrically, this is how the song plays out to me. He was with somebody who was in a relationship. It didn't go well. They broke up, and he had to get back into the single game. But he's doing it on a level of saying Batman is back. Like he's doing it on a superhero level, and that's what the song is selling you. Is like, this dude's not just back; he's fucking back, and this is the hardest way he's coming back. And he's gonna be single and be so good at being single that no one's ever done it this good. That's what
Could not agree
you
more.
believe him.
Yeah.
Could not agree more. And I will say, because I think we're all friends here, and I'm not talking about you three, I'm talking about everybody listening to this. I have had similar comebacks in my life, and every time I have those, I will put on Return of the Mac whenever I have like
confidently
whenever I
great
turn a
songs of all
corner.
time.
Yeah, that
It
song's
builds,
fantastic.
it builds the confidence in you. You're right.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Because one of the lyrics, and I know Joe is Googling the lyrics right now because that's his gimmick.
Yeah.
One of the lyrics is pump up the world. He is not pumping up his city. He is not pumping up his county. He is not pumping up his state. He is not pumping up his continent. He is pumping up the world with his enthusiasm, with his commitment to returning. And that's what I like to hear. He's pumping up the world.
Commitment to returning.
And it's got one of the best ad libs. There's an ad lib in there where it's like Return of the Mac, and it's just like, oh my God. And it's just so awesome. Like you can't, that's an
But also those verses, that whole thing, you're like, oh, hell yeah, that's great. That rhythm is so tight.
Imagine being in the studio building this fucking song. You knew just when they put the beat on, when the beat was put together, and before they even put the vocals in, they knew they were working with gold. They knew this song was going to be. They knew it. They knew it was going to be a hit song.
Joe, I imagine it was a lot like that video when Jay-Z walks in the studio and Timbaland's playing him Dirt on Your Shoulders, and he's just playing the beat, and all of a sudden you just see Jay-Z like, oh my God, turn the mic on.
You have to
I feel like it was like that.
I feel like they had to calm themselves down to work on the song.
We know.
Yeah, like we all know, like the electricity's in the room like crazy, and they all know what they have is gold, and they just have to like breathe and just take care of the song and get it recorded and get it on tape.
His call to action was to pump up the world.
The whole world.
You don't think he's gonna pump you up? He said the whole world. You're part of it.
I'm in the world. Yeah, I think he did it. No, I think he did. I think he delivered on what he said he was gonna do.
Mike, everybody feels cooler listening to that song.
I have no questions. No arguments.
Why? You're getting pumped up.
Yeah, pumped up the world. Man.
You're right.
Yeah.
So those are my choices. That's what I thought.
Choices there. Yeah.
Great.
A lot of good ones.
Great pick.
This is fantastic.
Sure.
I'll go next. I don't think I have a lot of choices, but I feel like I have the number one choice. But again, I think I said off air that I was really excited about my pick, and again, I think I fucked up, and I think I did it wrong again. But this isn't really a band that I don't think anybody's forgotten, but this is a band that time will never have any use for ever again. This was a band that was of their time and will never, ever be relevant ever again. Wow. And no one will ever, ever have any use for, unironically, ironically, or otherwise. Wow. And that is Limp Bizkit. Okay. I think the Chocolate Starfish in the Ultimate Kingdom, or wherever the fuck that album is called,
hot dog flavored water.
Hot dog flavored water will never, ever be played at any social event or on anyone's iPod, iPhone, etc. Zune, Neo Geo.
If you go to Buffalo Wild Wings and you go on there,
Nope.
If you go to Buffalo Wild Wings and you play it 10 times in a row, and then you just sit there with your friends and you don't tell anyone, you just wait for it to play 10 times in a row. It's a pretty great time.
But other than a stupid joke. But see, that's the thing. Like, I've been to a lot of 80s parties. I've been to a lot of 90s parties, and it's fun to play. If you're going, like, first of all, nobody's going to have a 2000s party. And if you do, Limp Bizkit's they're not fun to listen to. The only reason anyone would listen to Limp Bizkit now is because they're fun ironically. But they're not fun ironically. They're horrible.
I disagree, Mike. I have some neighbors that will disagree with you. They will blast that shit and they will love it like it's a classic.
I don't believe you.
Yes,
I don't believe you.
Yes, sir.
I don't believe you. You're a regular Anthony Fauci with the bullshit that you're spouting. I'm kidding.
I can represent for those people. I can represent for them.
Are you a Limp Bizkit guy?
So Yeah, sure. I guess I could say that.
Wow.
Now wait, when I say Limp Bizkit guy, for me, I guess for the way I look at it is that hang on one second.
Oh, you're getting a phone call?
Mike,
I
which
got a
song
phone
was
call.
it again?
It was my
There's
dad.
there's a lot of hit songs by Limp Bizkit. Which
No,
song
but it
was
doesn't matter. That's what.
Wait, forget
the
about
topic
all
of
that.
The conversation.
Me,
Hold on, wait, before you go, and then I'm gonna let you go. The topic of the show was bands of their time that are forgotten, and I think Limp Bizkit could only exist in 2000. They couldn't exist in 99. They couldn't exist in 2001. And I might be off on my years, but whenever they came out is the only year they could exist. And I don't think they could ever exist again. And I don't think anybody.
I hear you on that.
I know the one song. I know the one song that Time Forgot by Limp Bizkit, and it was a collaboration song with Korn called "All in the Family," where they go back and forth and shit on each other, trying to do like battle rap.
Literally.
Metaphorically.
And it's the cringiest song I think Limp Bizkit has. And if you read the lyrics, which everyone should be on the lyrics right now.
Was it a hit, though? Was that actually a hit for a time?
Or it was not a song, but Time did
I
definitely.
remember the one with Method Man. That was a big one.
That was a pretty big hit. Yeah.
Yeah, that had the music video. This one did not have a music video.
All right, let me throw this piece.
I'm curious to hear your
information.
take. Yeah, I'd love to hear your take.
First of all, Wes Borland is one of the most creative guitar players out there. Like, just stack him up against all the other guys creatively. He really outnumbers a lot of people, because a lot of people play so traditionally that, like, what he does, it's like only he really can do that. It's like his thing. So I guess on that level, I'm interested. I think the drummer was tight. He played his part really well, and then Fred Durst was just like this silly guy, like that was like sort of there. It really, I wasn't there for him. I was there for, look at what this rhythm section is doing, and I understand why people got like into the culture of it, like the look, the aesthetic. I never was into that. I was just like, listen to that rhythm section. They're tight. They played at I went to go see Metallica, and they opened for Metallica, and I was like, wow, they were nasty. Like, they didn't miss a beat, a note, nothing. And it's like, you might not like the style, but I get what they're going for, you know. And I again, I'm not like wearing a Limp Bizkit t-shirt, but I agree with you, Mike, that they could only exist then, because I don't see that coming back. It's just too of its time, you know. It's stuck in that year, you know.
And something that you're saying, Mike, which I really think you're on point with, is like a lot of stuff from that time period that was maybe not that good, or you know, even you think about something like Vanilla Ice, you know, which is like everybody was super into it and then realized it was cheesy, but then something kind of came back around again, and people were like, oh yeah, this song, and they were kind of like into it again, even if it was a little bit ironic, but they would still enjoy it on some level again. Maybe it took like 10 years or something. And that is not going to happen with, you know, it's just not. And I don't know why exactly, but there's not going to be that resurgence even on a ironic level. And I think maybe part of it is that, like, Fred Durst seemed maybe to take it a little too seriously. Maybe he doesn't have the personality to be enjoyed as a little bit of an ironic kind of silly guy or something. I don't know.
I think it's his rhymes. I think that there's a threshold of what people are willing to deal with in songwriting, and I think he doesn't get into that threshold. I think that he's below that, to a point where if you just like gave someone a timer and a pen and a paper, and you said, all right, you're going to just scribble down what you can come up with, and we're going to put it in a song and it's going to be on the radio. That's what his stuff comes across as.
It's 4:59.
If it wasn't for this band, I would be nothing but a pumpkin shoved inside a can. Okay, that's one of the lines. I've probably botched it, but like that's one of the lines, and like that on a level that's unacceptable. And I think, you know, that's why.
It's 4:50 on a Friday, and you're like, all right, we got to do one more song. What do you got?
Yeah, you got 3 minutes. You got to write the whole song in 3 minutes. Like
John,
that's
I'm so glad you said that. And I think my role on this podcast has just been established as saying something and then repeat, and then somebody repeating it, and then me repeating what that person said. But I think that is exactly what I thought about when I was thinking about my pick. Is you're going to go to a karaoke bar and you're going to hear somebody sing "You Can't Touch This," or you're going to hear somebody sing "Ice Ice Baby," like you said, or like even Rebecca Black's Friday. Like there's so many one-hit wonders that have ironic value. I don't think Limp Bizkit will ever have ironic value.
Yeah, and it's weird too. Like you think about like Kid Rock, who got popular around the same time, which is like maybe marginally better than Limp Bizkit at that time, and like, and like he's still going strong somehow. You know, like there's a few other people like that, or even like Korn. Like you know, like they were all sort of in this same boat at that time, and like a lot of those other bands like continued successfully, and Limp Bizkit just like burned out and disappeared. Like it's weird.
I feel like Slipknot was around that time too, maybe.
Yeah, and they're another one.
Slipknot had a big like sound, like a big radio sound. Like they weren't played on the radio a lot when they were big, like when they blew up, like when they were at their peak. Mm-hmm. But I remember they had the screaming parts and the sing-along parts, and the lyrics were very depressing and pretty deep overall. And then I remember like later Slipknot albums, like them going more underground with their sound and sounding more like straight up metal and getting heavier and almost less friendly sounding. And I remember being pretty like having a lot of respect for them. And then when I have a lot of friends back home who are just like the amount of music we listen to, they're pretty much just listening to heavy music. For all the different bands and genres we listen to, they're mainly listening to just heavy music, because that's a lot of my friends and bands play heavy music back home. And they all love Slipknot. So I had this epiphany, like, so everyone I'm friends with that is very picky with heavy music, they're all Slipknot fans. I was putting Slipknot on a level of
thread.
But they're not. They have, I went back and listened to them probably about a month ago. I didn't love it, but you can definitely tell they're trying to be a tastefully heavy band, and they don't need to be, but they're trying to, and they're as close as they can be to it, I think. But still not an underground heavy band. They don't come across like, it's not gritty and raw as much as this sounds produced. But I respect a band to be that big and then completely take a 180 and write songs and record songs that sound like they're not trying to be successful. They're just trying to write the best songs they can write. And that's really cool. So they get my respect.
Cool. I have this weird thought all the time, and this is kind of like a judgment thing I do to see the quality of a song. But I imagine like 500 years from now, it's like post-apocalyptic, like nothing of today really remains. But some person picks up a headphone and they were able to hit play on some device, and Duality plays in their ears. What are they going to think about the past? You know what I mean? Like, out of anything that could play, if this song was the one that somebody who's never heard music in their life before hits play on, what's going to happen to that person? Like, it's an interesting, stupid antidote that I put, but I still think when you put that on, like, it's going to like chemically change you. You know, like when you put on that song, or any song really, it like chemically changes your output, your mood, all these things. So what is this going to do to somebody if it was like a bomb sent to the future? You know what I mean? And Limp Bizkit, I don't know how that'll translate. So that's why I fully agree with you, Mike.
I mean, that's kind of a real thing. That's kind of a real thing though. Like you could right now, you could go grab some headphones and put on Amadeus.
If you read the lyrics of Duality by Slipknot, you can tell this dude wrote 100+ songs before he wrote this song. The first line is, "I push my fingers into my eyes." That's your first line?
That's how you know somebody's written 100 songs before. That one is when they start off with.
Yeah, like they'll take, if you take the heaviest line of a lot of songs is like the bridge, or like the last line of a song. But when you have the heaviest gut-wrenching line is your first line of a song, where is the song going? Because you
Yeah.
just set the bar, and now you have to write so much heavier and harder and pour out more of yourself throughout the song to have it hold its own weight. So I respect that a lot. I can't wait to re-listen to this song.
Your expertise was able to twist my joke and shine a light on my ignorance. That's how I know that you're the master. I've only written 90 songs, so I've got 10 more to go. All of them are all variants on Nookie.
Mhm.
I just changed one word out, but
A lot of stuff about canned pumpkins.
yeah, doing it for the Nookie.
Oh
Cookies.
man.
John, what are your picks?
So my approach to this, I guess, was sort of personal, and so but I feel like I
You want us to sign off?
Yes.
All right.
It's gonna be a Jeffrey Toobin. So like I literally was thinking, just without looking anything up, like what are those songs that I can just barely remember, where I'm like, oh yeah, there was this song and it was kind of like this, and I have to really strain to think about it, and then eventually I would go and like use the information that I could pull up in my head to look up what it was. But I do think that, like, I feel like I have a pretty good memory for music and at least pop culture from when I was young, like, you know, before I was 30, and I, you know, started getting old. So I feel like it translates pretty well. And one thing that hit me, one of the main ones that I had to really like dig down deep to try to remember what it was, is, I don't know if you guys remember, there's a band called The Vines. Do you remember this?
Go on. No, it sounds.
Yes.
Wait, what is it?
The band is called
Free, I wanna get free.
Yeah, the song.
Yeah, I want to get free. That was it.
Free
You
by
got
The Vines.
No, I don't remember that one. I'll look it up.
Yeah.
Oh man, I'm tempted to almost like play a clip from it for you, because I feel like if you heard it, you would remember it immediately. It sounds so much like a Nirvana song, really. Like it sounds like like if Nirvana really committed to trying to write a pop song, you know,
Totally.
instead of like being more difficult and, you know, a little more abstract and weird. It's just like Nirvana writing a pop song, basically, and it's not bad at all. But it's that was one of the big ones that hit me, because it's like it was a pretty big hit, and then it was just gone. And like, no, I don't remember anyone talking about the band. I don't remember anyone talking about the song. Like, it just came and went, like, just very quickly. It was
A-Rock all day, every day during those years. It was like every like half hour they're playing that song.
yeah.
I remember.
What was
It
the
was
song
heavy.
called?
Get Free.
Okay, I'll check it out.
And Mike, you will love this song because the last part of it is "Move Out of California."
No, you should never do that. You should never do that. What is the music I'm hearing?
I was trying to play the Vines for a minute, but then
What am I
A lot of
hearing?
filler lines. A lot of filler lines in this song. Just kind of rhyme into rhyme.
yeah. So that was my big one that like really had to dig back to even pull up in my memories. That was like 2002, I think. And another one, which I already texted this one to you guys, but to me this is a huge one. Is this "Got You Where I Want You"? by
Love
The
that song.
Flies, which I didn't even know the name of the band when I was thinking of the song. Yeah, that was 98. Did
I
you
don't
remember that one? Or Anthony and Joe, do you remember that song?
What was the title again?
I heard one lyric from it or one line, like the
"Got
melody.
You Where I Want You" is the name of the song. It's kind of like, ooh, got you where I want you.
Yep, you got it.
Okay. Yes. Just from the woo. From the woo, I remember.
I'm gonna have to look that up.
It's from the hit film Teaching Mrs. Tingle, starring Katie Holmes.
Teaching Mrs. Tingle?
Yeah, starring Katie Holmes.
I couldn't sing the verses, like these melodies, like the lyrics I'm looking at. I couldn't sing these verses correct with a gun to my head.
It goes like this.
do remember the
Hey,
ow.
I'll do it, Joe. It goes like this. It goes, hey, what's the point of this?
Yeah.
What's your favorite song? Maybe we can sing along. I think you're smart. You sweet.
Oh yeah.
Oh, he's a bad lyric.
Sign. I'm dying here. And then John comes in.
Yeah.
Where
Where I want
There
you.
you go. That was off the top of the head, by the way.
That's pretty good.
Yeah, thank you.
This song was definitely built around that chorus. The chorus came first. No,
Oh,
there's
yeah.
no doubt in my mind.
And that one also similar to the Vines one. It sounds to me like if Soundgarden was just like, we're gonna write a straightforward pop rock song and not try to challenge ourselves or our audience, but like just be super catchy. Like that. That's what it reminded me of. You know,
Silverchair was a little bit like that too.
Oh, yes.
there may be a good one for this this topic as well. Like
There was a song called "Emotion Sickness" from them that was sick.
No.
That was a great song.
was
But
that
they were kind of like a ripoff Nirvana Australian version or something, right?
They were
That's kind
one
of how they got placed.
Yeah, they were kind of one of the first like post-grunge bands. I feel like we're one of the first ones to come in that weren't really part of that scene at all, and like have a hit with a song that sounded like it was part of that scene, right? Like,
Yeah, I think so. I don't know too much about them, but I remember, I think they're like brothers or something like that. That's the only like little tidbit I know, and I think they're from Australia.
Yep.
But I only know that one record that came out, and it was because they had another song that was like "Open Fire."
was that they had?
Oh yeah, I love that song. Yeah.
back in like 2009, and had that might be that song. It had like
Yeah.
That was on my list too, because that was
on.
like John. I didn't have enough like prep time to be like, let me not look anything up because I was so afraid. I was like, I'm not going to think of anything. I better just start doing research. But that was one of the ones like, who had that song? And then when I looked up, I was like, that's Silverchair? Oh yeah, that's right, that's Silverchair.
That's a really big one. I feel like that song, because that one, it's like I still can't quite place it, but if I heard it, if it was playing, it would come back to me immediately. That's definitely a good one. I'm just gonna do one last one, and this was one that like I wasn't really that into, but I just remember it being around and being a hit for a very brief time. And so there was this, it was during, I think, the new metal thing in like 2003. There was a band called Cold, and they had a song called Stupid Girl. And the only
You know who wrote that song?
Rivers Cuomo. That's the only reason I remember it, really, because I remember it being kind of a hit, but it was pretty new metal. But I think even at the time I was like, this kind of sounds like if Weezer wrote a new metal song. And then I like ended up hearing that Rivers Cuomo had actually written it with the band. And so that's, I think, the only reason it stood out to me at the time at all, even because of that. But I do think it was one of those, again, that was very popular and on MTV and all that stuff for probably like 3 months or so. And then just, nothing. It's just...
I remember having a very specific thought about that. I remember saying, how could Rivers Cuomo write a song for a band that has that spider on their bass drum?
They were really into that spider logo. I watched the video.
Joe, do you know this band? Have you heard of this band, Joe?
I have.
Okay.
I have, and I remember the spider. And it's kind of like that band El Nino, where it's like, I don't really feel better by remembering this. You know what I mean? Like, I just remember being obsessed with new metal and making like filming like wrestling matches with my friends and smashing each other with like $1 Toys R Us sleds to like all these songs. And I just remember some of those songs just not being...
See what this music does to people?
That's awesome.
That's why it has to die.
I can't
go
believe
away.
I'm still alive. Like, there was a point in my life where I was listening to nothing but new metal. We were smashing each other with sleds and climbing ladders, jumping off of fences, and we were sledding down stairs and jumping into bushes of like neighbors' bushes, like trying to be like Jackass. So we had new metal, wrestling at one of its peaks, and Jackass at the same time. and no one got hurt. No one broke an arm. No one lost an eye. Can't believe it.
Wow.
So much dumb shit was happening.
What a time to be alive.
I think when you look at what happened at Woodstock when
Limp Bizkit.
they did the second one, you know, where
Yeah.
everybody got hurt,
Yep.
it just goes to show you what this music does to people. Like it does not breed peace, love, and harmony. It breeds a lot of other stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That isn't that.
angsty angriness.
But it feels good when you're a kid and you're skateboarding or you're, you know, doing something aggressive or you're playing sports. It's like, oh, this gets you. You know, when I lift weights, sometimes I listen Every Time I Die because I could just lift more weights because they're in my ears. You know what I mean? It's like that, and that's the interesting thing about, like, you know, Return of the Mac too. It's like that has a very specific energy that it's going to give to you. You know,
Yeah.
and I guess, you know, listening to Limp Bizkit definitely came up on one of the playlists. Like as I was like just scrolling through. If you go through Spotify, there's like a forgotten playlist that I was just kind of scrubbing through a little bit. There was a lot of Limp Bizkit on there. I think it's because people want to forget it. Like,
Yeah.
They're trying to bury it, but podcasts like ours are just not helping.
keeping it alive.
Yeah, man.
So
What are some of yours, Joe?
Yeah, Joe,
my
what do you
picks
got?
came from, so I remember like sitting in front of the television as a kid. My mom worked 3 jobs. My dad worked night shifts. So I spent a lot of time in front of the television, and certain songs, it was always music videos. It wasn't just the song. It was always it was a song and a video. And that I was intaking for music, like the early years of me listening to music. And a few affected me very heavily. And then years and years and years went by where these songs had no impact on my life whatsoever. So to me, they were songs that time forgot. My time had forgotten. The first one was the song Clumsy by Our Lady Peace.
Love it.
Yeah.
That song bummed me out so bad, and I loved the song. It is so emotional, and it is so devastating of lyrical content, and it just sounds like you're just watching someone just die in front of you, and you're just like ruining their life in front of you. And the lyrics are metaphorically about someone drowning, but the music video, the director took it very literally.
Oh, wow.
Oh, Jesus.
Girl is like
So-
drowning in this video, and the lyrics are like, I'll be waving my hand, like, bye, watching you drown. And as a kid, hearing those lyrics and seeing this video, I was like, oh my God, like it hit me. So, similar to like first getting into like emo music, I feel like Our Lady Peace is definitely an emo band. They just didn't get the label because of the time that they came out in. They got labeled as alternative rock.
I thought they were like a Christian band or something.
Yeah, I know that. I think.
Oh, that's Switchfoot, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think you're thinking of Switchfoot.
Yeah.
This
I
is a
kinda
band from,
combine
they're from
them.
Toronto. They're from Toronto, and yeah, this song affected me as a kid, and then I love them like I loved the Goo Goo Dolls. Clearly, the Goo Goo Dolls won and lasted. If the Goo Goo Dolls recorded this song would be amazing. The fact that Our Lady Peace recorded this song, the way his vocals are, and I'm a very nasally singer, but this dude's crushes me. He is like every verse is like
Yeah.
as nasally singing can get.
I think he's affecting. I think that's an effect, though. I think he's putting that on.
Yeah.
It's got to be, right?
That was my first pick. I just remember really, really having like an impact on my life as a kid and like music in general, and then completely disappearing off the face of the earth. Band and song. And then the second song I picked was a time where I was playing a lot of Command and Conquer, Diablo 1. I think I was watching movies like Basketball and playing Maximum Carnage on Sega Genesis, drinking nothing but Coca-Cola and not cheese Doritos, nacho cheese Doritos. That was it.
Can I guess your pick? Can I guess your pick?
Yes.
Is it Stacy's mom?
It's not.
All right, all right.
These things just have to do with the time period that I remember.
Yeah.
Mark Wilson's house. It has nothing to do with the song and the vibe of the song. But this song is by the band Corner Shop, and it's Brimful of Asher. And I actually really like this song now. I remember not liking the song when it came out. I remember thinking it was really funny that he sings the line, "Everybody needs a bosom for a pillow." I didn't really know what bosom meant. Like I knew what like boobs were, and I didn't really know what bosom meant. But I remember thinking like that is such a funny word to sing over and over, like repeated the word bosom and do it like seriously. But the song's really meaningful. It has to do with cinema in India, and that there would be background singers to movies, and there was like two background singers that were really famous, and cinema is so important to India because it like captured the soul of a country and inspired so much art and just brought so many people together. And that's what this song is about. It's about escapism through movies, and how it's just a very like, the song's just about just like anyone who sings about loving music or loving movies or just loving a type of art, and that's the whole theme of the song. To me, it just breaks the wall, and it's so innocent. And I think the song is instrumentally is kind of sloppy. Some of it I wish was recorded better. I think the structure of the song could have been put together better, where it's kind of repetitive and just keeps going on and the song doesn't end. But the song itself, the parts that I love on a 10 out of 10. It's a great song.
Yeah.
I wish I would love to go on a deep dive of Corner Shop. Another song I picked.
You mentioned, I just want to go back to Corner Shop. You mentioned that song a few days ago, and I was anticipating that might be one of your picks.
Yeah.
And I loved that song when it first came out. So I listened to it, I think it was yesterday or the day before when you mentioned it. That song has been in my head all day today. I've been singing that song all day today. I've been just walking around going 45, it's saying that after everything. I love that song. I'm a big fan of that song.
He does like a hip hop calling out to everybody.
Yeah, at the end. And he does it for about 7 minutes.
He does it for way too long. He's like, solid state radio, 45.
He's saying nouns that he knows.
Yeah, all India radio, 45.
The color brown, 45.
Trojan Records. And he just says 77,000 orchestra set, like 77,000 piece orchestra set.
Yeah.
45. And he goes, everybody needs a bosom for a pillow. Mine's on the RPM.
Yeah.
He's like saying these things like someone would in a heavy instant. Like if you say everyone needs this for a pillow, mine's on the RPM, that's like, sounds like you're in a heavy song or like a heavy hip hop song. It doesn't sound like the song. So it's really, it really captures your heart and it makes you smile. But really good lyrics are, she says, Sadi Rani, she's the one that keeps the dream alive from the morning past the evening to the end of the light. And the light is the cinema projecting on the screen. So it's really well written overall. And he says, and there was singing illuminating the main streets and the cinema aisles. Like it's a lot of like cool visual lyrics in there. So I really like that song. Couple others. I didn't deep dive too much on this, but songs that I love that hit me. I remember like getting a ride from school with my neighbor, and like a song coming on the radio and just like having a moment as like a 6-year-old kid or a 7-year-old kid. And because of the song, like the overall vibe and the tone, Donna Lewis, I Love You Always Forever.
That's a good one.
Song, man, if you look at these lyrics, 10 out of 10. This is an insanely well-written song. That song hit me like no other. I just remember like getting into a mental mode, and this is way before like I wanted to be in a band or wanted to do anything musically. I just remember like being just in the back seat of my neighbor's car while they were driving to school and just being like, holy shit, this song is like deep.
No, that's a good one.
Sneaker Pimp, 6 Underground.
I love that song.
Not as forgotten.
From the hit film, Can't Hardly Wait.
Yep.
Absolutely.
That one I feel like I would have to hear to remember even. Like I remember the name Sneaker Pimps, and I remember like that's probably the perfect example because it's like back there somewhere in my brain. But
I swear to God you know this song. I swear to God you know this.
I'm sure.
Both songs have this really poetic, almost like it's raining and it's like dark in a city vibe to it. It's got this, it's not really the lyrics, but it's the music that sets this cool, like it's raining in Gotham City feel. And I don't think a lot of songs on the radio have that from today or back then. Just in general, I think there's maybe only 7 of these.
Ever? 7 ever?
Yeah, like to have that specific like rainy, dark city. Like there's there's fog machines everywhere. Like I'm talking like a Spielberg, like filming E.T., just fog machines everywhere.
Okay.
It's just got this cool atmospheric thing that I don't think a lot of radio songs have. And I really love that.
Like a real in the air tonight kind of thing.
Yeah, exactly. And last one, Rusted Roots, Send Me On My Way.
Songs I love. These are all songs I love.
I cried.
I just want to have pancakes every time I hear that song.
Why do you want pancakes?
Because in the movie Matilda, she has like these powers, and she, with her mind, makes pancakes while that song's playing. And if you saw that as a kid, it's like, here's your association. That's it.
Man. Wow. Gotta watch Matilda. I remember that movie. I didn't see it.
Danny DeVito directed that.
I feel like that made a comeback on like a rent-a-car commercial. They've been using that for like a year. It was like always in the background of like these Hertz commercials or something like that a few years ago.
These are all great picks. Those are every song that we've said on today's episode are songs I legitimately love, except for the Limp Bizkit catalog. So I wonder, like, I know we're like 2 hours in, but I wonder why these songs were forgotten. I guess the one was still in a...
The momentum of the music industry is why they're forgotten. They're on a momentum, especially MTV at its prime. Here's a song, 3 days later, forget that song. Who cares? There's another song, like...
You sound like my Tinder attempts. Same kind of thing. It's the same kind of thing.
So I have a little bit of a theory, and because I feel like there's this time period of like 97 to like 2002, and it might be because of my age, but it didn't seem like there was really a main thing happening in music. It seemed like things were all over the place. You know, like you look at the early 90s, and obviously you have like grunge and like a kind of a sound and hip hop even in that time period. And then even after, well, I feel like even into like 2000, after 2002, you know, there was these things that was like even Blink-182 becoming more mainstream and like pop punk, and like the emo thing becoming more of a, you know, there was these movements or something. But then between 96 and 2001, 2002, it just, things were all over the place, it kind of seemed like. And I feel like that might be part of it, is like there was a lot of these things that would just pop up, and then something else would pop up, and nothing really like took hold in the same way it had in other times.
I think MTV had a big piece of that puzzle, though, because it was like, all right, here's the representative for metal. Right. Here's the representative for pop. Here's the representative for this. And you're like, all right, that's it, right? That's it. And that's all people would do. They wouldn't go further down these like rabbit holes that you could with these artists, giving them like more staying power. It was sort of just like seeing buildings passing you by in life. But to your point about like that period, I actually think right now could be the darkest period of forgetting things than ever. Like so dark we can't even see it, because I can't remember things that happened like last year that were so hot that I'm like, oh yeah, that was last year. I cannot believe it. It almost feels way worse now more than ever, maybe because our attention spans are like nothing because of Instagram and stuff. Sorry, my doorbell.
I think like the most memorable days I have in each year are days when I don't have my phone on me. And I think, I don't know if it will ever happen, but I think maybe someday, years from now, people will just be like, I'm done, and just leave them at home. Maybe. But if they did, your memory comes back 100%. I want to say at least 60%. More efficient is the human memory without a phone in front of them.
Do you think though, like younger, like teenagers and younger feel like that? Or do you think they're talking about a song that came out 2 years ago or 3 years ago and reminiscing about it because it meant a lot more to them because they're younger.
I think it's so saturated that it's like we have to lose things much faster. Like back in the day, you know, an album would come out, you'd wait online sometimes to get that out. Like there was such an importance put on like the pilgrimage to the record store to get that record that it added a lot of permanence to your memory bank, you know. But when things are like candy, like you're just given out like they're nothing, there's no emotion, there's no sustenance, there's no emotional attachment to it. So what staying power could it have, especially when it's like lightning hitting, you know? When you waited for Metallica's Black Album, everybody's like, this is it, this is the birth of Christ here for, you know. And nobody says that about anybody's record anymore, in my opinion. Not even like Kanye. I don't even feel that way. But
the video game industry has that still.
Yeah, I think that's right on the money.
You don't get me
Video game
started.
industry has that. When you go on YouTube, if you look up a franchise, a successful franchise on a video game, like let's say one of my favorites, Zelda, there's like 300 channels that have millions of views of just people throwing spaghetti at a wall, just guessing what the next game is going to contain. And they make a living off of talking about the hypotheticals of this game.
But
the video game industry has it. I don't know who else has it.
Well, people still have to pay good money for video games, though. You know,
$60. And that was started in the 90s, and Super Nintendo and Sega games were like $60, and they're still $60. So video games could cost more, but for some reason the industry decided that they can make the most money with each game being $60 plus downloadable content. So they could be worse. It could be $100, $200 a game. It's not.
What do you pay per record these days? For a band's record?
$10.
$10.
If you're buying it digitally, yeah, like $9 or $10. And if you're streaming your music, you know, you're paying $9, $10 a month for all the music in the world to be listened to at any moment. And a lot of people don't even care to pay that to listen to music, you know, like, so.
What is the dollar amount, you know, like how does that even equate? You know, like it almost doesn't in a way. It's like, this has become a much bigger industry than the music industry was when the Beatles were out. When the Beatles were out, that was Nintendo, that was Sony and all this stuff, because it was like, that's the biggest thing in the world. There's nothing that has more people's attention than that. Now there's 80 games a year that come out that draw that many people's attention, and nobody else knows about it because it's like, that's their lane, you know. And I think that's what's amazing about the internet today, is that like we're able to figure out where you want to kind of go and live in, because there's all kinds of artists and SoundCloud and stuff that are like, you know, you can just go through the genre and just keep clicking through, or Spotify. That's what's great about it. It's like, you know, having that record store in your pocket, it's like changing the system so much that you can't get around that with a video game. It's like you have to download all this content. It's like you can't just get the single piece of the video game. It's like you can with a record. So, you know, how does the money thing factor in? I don't think that's it either, though. Just as a reductionary thing. Like, I don't think that's the problem why things have staying power these days.
Yeah, I don't know. It's tough to figure. I do know one thing, though. It just, to me, thinking about the days when you had to buy an album at a store, it's like, especially like I didn't have a lot of money, so going and buying like 2 or 3 CDs was a pretty big deal, and I probably wasn't going to buy any more CDs for the next like month or so. So I'm going to spend time with those 2 or 3 albums, even if I'm not that into them. I'm going to give them a lot of chances. I'm going to be sitting with them in my car on every drive for the next month or so, whether I like it or not.
No, it's true.
It's like a sponge. Yeah.
To throw one more band on, because of just what you said right there, that has like a forgotten history in a way, was what was the band that did Lump?
President of the United States of America.
So I accidentally bought the soundtrack to the movie Dead Presidents because I thought that was the band. And I listened to that record so much.
Those are two
And
very different things.
I wound up having to live with my Weird Al version for a while because I couldn't afford the real one. I blew it. I missed the mark.
Was the Dead Presidents soundtrack any good? Was there any? I feel like that could have been all right.
Tupac on there.
Yeah, there's some cool stuff on there. There's some cool stuff. It's just not at all what I was in the mood for. It's like somebody handing you ice cream when you want some, I don't know, pizza. I don't know, something totally different.
Yeah.
That was awesome. Great episode, guys. Anthony, thank you so much for joining us, man. This was a blast.
Yeah.
Thanks for having me, guys, and keep going because it's starting to spread, and I'm telling all my friends to listen. So
please
keep
do,
going.
man.
I hope so. I feel like we've got our 80 subscribers, and we're staying strong with that. I don't know if it'll ever get bigger, but I like where we're at.
That's a good wheelhouse. We got
Punk rock.
Yeah, exactly. We don't want to sell out. We're not sellouts. We're not going corporate here.
Yeah, when you guys start selling ad space and stuff, that's when I'm gonna bow out.
We're looking at you, Casper mattresses.
MeUndies, Squarespace.
Looking at you,
You got it.
George's seafood buffet.
You got it. Yours
the
was the
male
made up
one?
one. Yours was the made up one. Ours was the real one.
All right, guys. Well, that was a lot of fun.
Bye, everyone.
Thanks for having me.
All right.
Thanks for joining us.
Bye.